Greetings, everyone. Welcome, and thanks so much for coming. We're getting started here. Folks are still filtering in through the waiting room, but we're going to jump in and get going and welcome them as they arrive. So, I'm Amy Antonucci with New Hampshire Peace Action, and I'm really glad to welcome you to our first Peace and Justice conversation of 2026. Did I say that right? Yeah, that sounded right. Tonight we are doing a New Hampshire Peace Action update, where you're going to hear from a number of folks who are involved in one way or another with Peace Action about some of the work we have been directly doing or supporting here in New Hampshire. And then there'll be, the plan is for plenty of time for feedback, your questions about our work, and maybe some ideas you have for us going forward. So first, in case you don't already know, New Hampshire Peace Action has been around for well over 40 years now, and we've been educating, mobilizing, and organizing to build a more peaceful and just future for all. A future that's based on cooperation instead of competition and conflict, and where mutual benefit and shared common security leads to a more peaceful and just global community. We do want to start with an acknowledgement that we are doing this work on the traditional ancestral homelands of the Abenaki, Wabanaki, and Pennacook peoples, past and present. We give them our gratitude, as well as the land and the water that they have been in relationship with throughout the generations. Quick reminder on Zoom guidelines. We love it when your video is on. We will have your audio muted to start with. The chat is open and you can put questions in there. We might not get to them immediately, but we'll pull from the chat when we do get to Q&A. And later on, we'll likely get to hand raising too. So tonight's program is going to feature, I think there's 6 of us who are going to be speaking. And what we'll be doing, I'll give a bit of an overview of the work that New Hampshire Peace Action did in 2025. Then we're going to hear from Bill Maddox about the New Hampshire Peacekeeper project, which is a project of NHPA. Janet Simon is with us to talk about another of our projects, the Palestine Education Network. Then we have 2 folks who are representing organizations and efforts that we have acted in support of this year. Ann Romney from Not My Name, New Hampshire, and Bob Sanders from Ride Against War in Gaza. And a very exciting special treat, you will then get to meet our new intern, Hazel Armstrong McAvoy. So that is our plan. And again, if you have questions that come up, drop them right into the chat and we will get to them, though we'll likely wait until at least most folks have spoken. All right, so with that said, and timing myself here, okay. Here's a bit of a year in review, some of the highlights that happened for us this year, some of the work that we did. This event that you're at now is a good place to start. Our Peace and Justice Conversation series online continues. We have been doing that every other week since July 2020. And we continue to find just outstanding speakers and programs. And we've been so pleased that the numbers of folks coming and joining us continues to be high, even when some folks are a little sick of Zoom. This has just worked out in such a great way for us to connect and talk to people from all over the, planet, actually, and to bring in folks from outside, all over New Hampshire and beyond. We had, Doreen's count was that 1,600 people attended the series throughout the year, and the online videos on our YouTube channel have been viewed thousands of times. We had some special educational programs outside of the regular Monday night. included some really great presentations. We had Peter Beinhardt discussing his new book, well, new at the time, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza. We had David Hartsoe, activist, longtime extraordinary activist, facilitated a discussion of the film The Movement and the Madman, which he was in. And it was also one of David's last programs he engaged in, because he died soon after that. I think he was 86. Amazing life. He has a memoir. You should all read it. We're just proud to have him as one of our ancestors now. We also helped to host Issa Amro, along with Not in My Name, New Hampshire, and some others. Amazing peace activist from the West Bank. He joined us from the West Bank due to this, Zoom technology. And we also had Dr. Mazen Kumsia join us from the West Bank for our annual meeting. We also have kept up kind of sporadically, but we've been doing our New Hampshire Peace Action Zooms. And we have been thrilled that those have actually grown quite a bit. And people have seemed to find them useful, whether they're learning new things about legislative advocacy or just having a community to do it with. We've been getting good feedback and strong turnouts for those, and feel really good about that. We've continued with a weekly legislative/action alert, and also with our weekly newsletter with a calendar. Those come out on email. We took the lead in planning the Rally for Peace and Planet on April 12th, which helped to link environmental and peace issues, something that we think is really important for folks to understand. And related to that, recent developments in the country, we are seeing that people are starting to understand more deeply how domestic and foreign policy is actually related. In the past, we've had a lot of times we've wanted to be a part of an event, and people have said, that's where we do domestic, not foreign. And that has really shifted this year. And we have spoken in different than usual spaces for us, such as some churches and the UU fellowships, the Unity Hub in Portsmouth, some of the No Kings and associated rallies. And we also were featured in press from Drop Site News and Public News Service. I'll say a little bit now, kind of vaguely shifting gears. One of the really important parts of our work continues to be a focus on Palestine. And we continue to help convene the New Hampshire Coalition for a Just Peace in the Middle East, which has now grown to, I think it's 16 groups. And we have weekly meetings, which continue to be well attended. And we are, in 2025, we had arranged and led 6 meetings with legislative staff, and as well as biweekly in-person visits to the Dover offices of Senator Shaheen and Representative Pappas, and regular email outreach to Senator Hassan's staff. Meetings are primarily on Zoom, which is actually great because foreign policy is done in DC, so we can actually meet with the right people that way. You'll hear more about Right Against War in Gaza and Not My Name. I guess what I will tell you is that as we are not unaccustomed to peace issues not being popular with our representatives, and the legislative work does continue to be slow and not give us the results that we really need yet, of course, we have also been really encouraged to see movement in most of our reps. Senator Shaheen in particular, of like the 20 asks we had for her, she did more than half of them this year. So we feel like our power is building. We've also gotten in the door with our other representatives in ways we haven't in the past. So between our consistent showing up and the consistent advocacy that all of you do, we are at least poised, we are making a larger impact and poised to really make an even bigger one. So I'm going to stop there and pass it on to Bill Maddox, who will tell you about the New Hampshire Peacekeeper Project, which is a huge part of our work, especially this year. So thank you all. If you have questions, remember you can put it in the chat for later, and Bill, take it away.
Great, thanks, Amy. Boy, an impressive list of things that we've done this year, to put it mildly. And it's been, or I should say last year, it's been quite a year for peacekeeping as well. Everyone knows that peacekeeping, the Peacekeeper Project has a long history with peace action, led for many years by Arnie Alpert and American Friends Service Committee, Maggie Fogarty, and with Will Hopkins picking up the mantle when he was director, and then more recently kind of being passed over to Louise Spencer from Country Coalition, who really did the coordination of peacekeepers for a while. And then we formed a leadership team made up of Louise and Maggie and Shana Apple and David Blair, who you probably know, and myself, and have been running really a pretty robust program for the last 2 or 3 years with 6 or 8, maybe as many as 10 peacekeeping assignments during the previous years. But 2025 was a completely different thing for, as we all know, just a huge outpouring of public protest and anger and disgust, and the ability for peace action to really come to the aid of, to put it really plainly, a bunch of organizers from 5051 who really had never organized anything. Many of them had never even been to a demonstration in their lives. So it was a really amazing process to see them learn as they built bigger and bigger events. And we, in turn, built peacekeeping to be bigger and develop more capacity. And that it wasn't just the 5051 events, the LGBTQ community and trans people under siege, and opportunities for people to hear from different speakers about some of the impacts and what growing up, what life is like as a trans person, or being able to be there at the 3S Art Space or at the Red River Theaters, other places when we had really important and moving but controversial films about the devastation going on in Palestine. So we've really been able to kind of meet the challenge by having a good core team of people who are the leadership, but also going out and recruiting lots more peacekeepers. I see Dana Dahl here is one of our top peacekeepers living over in Milford, right next to where I live in Amherst. We did training for about 150, 160 people, not only peacekeepers for our own peacekeeping roster, which I'll talk more about in a minute, but we went to Lebanon, we went to Franconia, Keene, we went up to Plymouth, and then we've done lots of trainings in Portsmouth and Nashua, Exeter, Manchester. And what this means is that we now have a force of about 140 active peacekeepers and another 60 or 80 who are reserve or people who only want to be called out for special occasions. It's really quite phenomenal. And among many of those people who've come out to become peacekeepers are people who were peacekeepers long ago, who are part of, whether it's different peacekeeping or peace missions around the world. And they're really incredible experience working in those tough international situations, to people who were part of the Clamshell Alliance and were part of the original affinity groups that, 50 years ago were raising good trouble in trying to stop Seabrook. So it's been pretty phenomenal in terms of the numbers of people that we have. We've done during the year of 2025, we did over 50 peacekeeping assignments. And as I said, we have 140 peacekeepers that are active. We have regular uniforms, vests that people wear now. And we've also been working on training. The bottom line of peacekeeping and the bottom line of peace actions work is really about nonviolent civil action. It's about engagement in communities where there's fear, and there's a lot of fear for a lot of people coming out to those big demonstrations, and they were huge. We had 8,000 people one day at the State House, but also happening all over the state. People have never been out at a demonstration before, have a lot of fear. And oh wow, I'm already over my 5 minutes. I will wrap it up. I think peacekeeping has been a real opportunity for peace action to really portray itself as an organization whose values walk out in the street and de-escalate and make it possible for people to raise their voices in these very important times. And I really feel honored that I've been able to be part of growing peace actions, Peacekeeper project, and urge any one of you who wants to be a peacekeeper to please let us know. And otherwise, just support the Peacekeeper project any way you can. Sorry for going over, but a lot going on. Anyways, thanks, and turn it over to the next person who I don't know who that is.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Bill.
Yep.
And the Peacekeeper Project, amazing, amazing work. Janet Simon is up next, one of, I believe, the original founders of the Palestine Education Network. No. All right. Well, she's going to tell us about what's going on with Penn.
No, I've been here 15 years, and Penn was the first organization I joined. So I've been honored to be a part of this organization that was started by some really outstanding people back in 2005. Purpose of Penn is to educate people truthfully and carefully about the denial of human rights that Palestinians are enduring under Israel's occupation. We question and bring forth instances of U.S. support for the occupation when terrible things are happening and the United States pays for it in personnel and money and rarely questions Israel's actions. And our job is to bring these into the public and for people to know and hopefully act on it, because we know that criticism of Israel is very emotional, and we try really hard to bring people into respectful dialogue, letting people know what we can do as citizens to bring about just solutions in a way that people feel empowered. We spend a great deal of our time doing research, finding out the truth of the situation. Several of us have very close friends in Palestine or Palestinian friends, so we keep tabs on the truth of what's actually going on. We check our facts. And if you need information about Palestine, or if you have a question, or if things seem to be conflicting information, we're the people to ask. We'll find out anything we can possibly find out. We visited offices of the reps and senators, usually together with representatives of other groups. So it's really been good to go together with people we respect and honor to make these visits. John Hancock has created a spreadsheet, and for Penn, we are committed to making calls every Monday. And John puts together a question, and then we give feedback when we've called the 3 offices to let him know what the response was. So we have a record of the calls we made and the responses that our representatives have given us. And our biggest wonderful thing that's happened this year is the relationship with Not in My Name, New Hampshire, and our being able to work with them. They've been so generous, and working together has taken their strengths and our strengths and made many more events happen. Films and other events have been extremely successful, and really the success is because of Not in My Name, New Hampshire being so open and so helpful. We've sponsored films and lectures and continue to sponsor films, and we will do a presentation or a film any place, public or private, that anybody thinks of. The Gralta Foundation in Massachusetts has amazing programs, and they always invite us to go down and present when they have something. And we do bigger things like be a part of Prepared to Serve, the UCC annual conference, and the Laconia Multicultural Festival. And we go to things like that. We often will see our reps, and so we go prepared to track them down and introduce ourselves and have a conversation. The other thing we've been busy doing is trying to find resources for the tatteries, embroidery, and ceramics, and olive oil and glass that the Palestinians are so expert at, and a lot of these places that we've gotten things from have shut down, but we've found new resources, and we continue to be able to get beautiful items to sell at these events. So enjoy the beautiful things that are available. If you see it, take it, because you probably won't see it again. And
Thank you,
we
Janet.
encourage you to let us know if we can pass on any information for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. And you actually had a lovely segue in there to our next speaker. Now, Not in My Name, New Hampshire is an independent organization, but New Hampshire Peace Action has been committed to lending them help when needed. Things like fiscal sponsorships and other organizational support, so they can really focus on the really good work that they're doing. So we wanted to also, in that spirit, give them a little time here tonight to tell you about themselves. And Ann Romney is going to do that, and then Bob Sanders will go after you, Ann.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Bill. Because we at Not in My Name are a young grassroots organization. Bob, who will be speaking next about Raw Gaza, is really the true founder of this organization, along with a couple of other people. And I came fairly early on, approaching 2 years ago, and it feels like 5 or 10 years. But we have really been busy, very involved with, and I'll go through what we've been doing, but I just really do want to thank the broader community that I've gotten to meet over this last couple of years, because it's dark and heavy work, and it is lightened by the good work of all the people here that are doing what you're doing. So I feel so supported. by Amy, by Janet, by Bill, who always provides us with these amazing peacekeepers at all of our events. And I do have to just a quick plug that we're having a film tomorrow night in Portsmouth at 3S Art Space at 6:30, and it's called The Settlers. We're really focusing a bit now on the West Bank nightmare, and I know that's not easy for all of you, but we will be showing the same film again in Concord at Red River on, I believe, February 10th. So anyway, I thank you all for all that you're doing. I'm so glad to be able to even be here to talk about Not in My Name. We've been, one of the joys of being a grassroots organization, I say joy in quotes, is hashing out a mission statement, which we've been doing very laboriously of late. So I'm going to give it a go here, Bob. I'm going to actually read our mission statement at the moment as it stands. Now, it's a description. New Hampshire, Not in My Name, New Hampshire, is a predominantly Jewish organization that, through education and advocacy, works for peace, justice, and self-determination for Israel/Palestine. We are a diverse group that believes it is not anti-Semitic to criticize Israeli policy, and that true peace requires recognition of the Palestinian people's right to self-determination. Neither side can have peace until both sides can have peace. So we are, I think, it's inherent in our name, Not in My Name, that we oppose much of what has been happening over the past, well, decades really, but this really got born out of the Gaza war. And these are the things that we support. A lasting and sustainable peace in Israel-Palestine, achieved through an equitably negotiated, just agreement. We believe that any kind of ceasefires or agreements have excluded the Palestinian people almost entirely, and that it will not be just until those folks are included. We want increased humanitarian aid and reconstruction in Gaza, reinstatement of UNRWA, and other international relief agencies, an immediate freeze on all the settlement development, and stopping the settler violence, which we'll be talking about tomorrow night, and holding accountability for these atrocities that have been happening. And we want to end the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. So these are some of the things that we are asking for, and we do that through advocacy with legislators, with letter writing to legislators. We've put some ads in newspapers as well. Our educational arm is doing what we have collaboratively done with Penn and others, where we have shown films, had speakers, authors, and we've been really steadily doing that. I believe, I tried to count it up right before our meeting. I think that we have reached probably close to 800 people through some of these engagements over the last year and a half or so, since ever we started to do this. And we have more on the books for this coming year. We're working hard on that. We attend rallies occasionally, some of us can, participating in the coalition and other work that people are doing here in the state. And in our community events, we always include conversation. So it's challenging because we become a bit of a lightning rod for people who are very defensive and blocked around this and quite unwilling to look at what Israel is doing and how that could be. So sometimes that gets focused on us, so we feel a little bit of pushback, but we try to have very civil conversations, safe conversations to the degree that they can be. I don't think we can guarantee emotional safety, but we certainly try to keep the environment calm so that people can try to listen to very divisive opinions around all of this. We recognize that it's a very hot wire topic. So we have conversations, and when we can, we try to sell the lovely crafts that Janet was talking about, Palestinian art, crafts, olive oil, etc., so that we can try to support in small ways the economic strife there. And Bob can probably add to some of what I might be missing, but I think that is the gist of who we are, and we're growing and really appreciate support. We're working on a website right now so that we can be a little bit more professional in our output, and we post articles on Facebook and soon on our website. And we just are very grateful for the way the community has been receptive and supportive to us, because there are really only about 8 of us that are really ongoingly involved, with external support from Amy, Janet, Bill, etc. And thank you. Thanks for letting us be here.
Thank you so much. Bob, we are going to hand it to you next.
Hi, so I'm Bob Sanders, and though was not my name and still am, I'm speaking now for Ride Against War in Gaza. I took a little vacation from not my name during the summer to ride across the country. And to my relief and delight, not my name probably grew stronger in my absence. So maybe I should disappear some more. Anyway, Ride Against War in Gaza has very similar aims and a very similar purpose. You know, as Jews, we feel somewhat that we are both morally and strategically need to speak out against what's going on in Israel, Palestine, because of the because it's being done in our name. It's, you know, Jewish star on the Israeli flag, Star of David, and it's also because as Jews, we want to make it clear that not all Jews support this, and that it's safe for both Jews and non-Jews to speak about Israel and not be, you know, labeled anti-Semitic. Well, it's not totally safe, but we hope to give them cover a little bit. So anyway, that's part of why I did this. I wanted to go across the country again. So I did this 50 years ago, but now did it with a cause in mind, and so I took the summer off and I started in San Francisco and went to ended in Portsmouth. It was supposed to be a 4,000-mile journey. Let me just share something real quick here. And I'll put this up. Do you see that?
Nope.
Nope. Let's try again. Screen. Oh, share. There we go. Okay, so this is a simplified version, more rhetorical, I think. Since this is just me, I don't have to be so worried about the wording of what this is for. And this is just some of the basic facts. One of the things I did is, first of all, I wanted to thank Peace Action, especially New Hampshire Peace Action, for all support. I basically had a web page on their web that Doreen did amazing work getting updating my ride as I went. And also I was able to get the donations through them. I was trying to raise money as well of awareness on my ride, and I did manage to raise $26,000. Some money just came through what people heard, but a lot came through events. We did event in nearly every place we went. A total of 75 events. I didn't really believe it until I counted them all. It was pretty much I would bike all day and do an event at night and maybe ride with people. The event could include a send-off with other bicyclists. We had about 50 bicyclists that went with us for a few hours in and out of different cities. We were put up by activists all around the country, and you know, we also attended some large events. I spoke with Rashida Tlaib in Detroit at a large rally, pro-Palestinian rally in there, and and there was a lot of it was potlucks in people's houses, and sometimes several a day. So I didn't lose any weight, but I did get to meet a lot of people. Now, a reason which 3,000 miles rather than 4,000 miles is that I got hit by a Jeep in Idaho, and it basically laid me up for about a month, and I had to skip 1,000 miles and so I skipped most of Idaho and well, some of Idaho, all of Wyoming and South Dakota, and the western half of Minnesota. That wasn't the prime spot in terms of, that's one of the reasons I was willing to do this, is it wasn't going to be it's going to be the roughest riding and also the roughest politically part of the trip. So I missed that, but it's actually because of the insurance settlement, which we're just finalizing. I said that, well, it took me 2 months to raise 26,000, so I should have raised 13,000, and that accident cost me 13,000. They're not giving everything that we want, but I think I'll get about a third of that. So maybe we'll go up to 30,000 raised. Anyway, half the money goes to the AFFC's Emergency Gaza Fund, a quarter to Peace Action locally and nationally, and a quarter not in my name. And I think that's it. I just wanted to say I did a couple of rides to get this together, and so I did 2 rides last year. One was around New England and one was down to DC. And I could talk more. I was going to share more. Maybe I'll share one picture and then I'll shut up. Where is that? In Detroit. Well, this is a fun picture over there. This is in Ohio. And these are shirts. And that's when I spoke to a pretty large crowd in Cleveland. So anyway, that's it. I'll shut up, and people have questions, feel free to ask them.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm gonna stop the share for you. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. Excellent. We have one more person that kind of is wrapping up the presentation of some of the work we've been involved in this year, and we'll be happy to take your questions on it. But next, we want to introduce a person in a program that is new to us. We have, as of last week, I guess, we have launched our youth intern program, where we are offering paid internships to folks. At the moment, where colleges are where we're looking, and it's amazing so far. And here's why it's amazing so far. Here is Hazel Armstrong McAvoy, and she's just going to say hi, tell you a little about herself and her experience. And go ahead, Hazel.
Yes. Thank you, Amy. Hi, everybody. My name is Hazel Armstrong McAvoy. I'm currently a junior at UNH Manchester. I'm studying public relations and advertising, a part of their communication arts program. And I'm focused in nonprofit management and professional development. I'm so grateful and so lucky to have had the opportunity to work with New Hampshire Peace Action through this internship. So far this year, I've been helping with their Tuesday action alerts and their Friday newsletters with compiling research and writing those for all of you folks to enjoy and get involved within the state. And I will also be helping with events and tabling, so I'm hoping to get out there in the community and meet some of you people out there as well. But yeah, I'll keep it brief because I know we have some questions to go over, but I'm very lucky and I'm so happy to get involved this year and contribute to New Hampshire Peace Action's mission.
Thank you, Hazel. Welcome. Everyone, welcome, Hazel. Yay. See, everyone's excited for you. All right, so now we would love to take some questions. I haven't seen any particularly in the chat unless I missed something. So go ahead and put questions into the chat. You can also hand raise if that is how you would rather do it. And we do have more things we can talk about if that's where we're at, but we really, want to allow for the conversation part of the conversation series. But while you are thinking on that, maybe I should call on Bill, because Bill has a story from peacekeeping last week, right, Bill?
Sure. Yeah. I thought I was like a minute and a half into my presentation. I looked at my timer, it said 5 minutes and 30 seconds. It's like, oh my God. So, yeah, I would like to share something. People probably know there was a huge rally in Merrimack on Thursday night to tell the town council that a warehouse for human beings in Merrimack or anywhere in New Hampshire is a bad idea. And we had a peaceful group. The 1,200 people there were from all over the state and probably some from elsewhere. And but it was extremely, peaceful. A lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of people wearing Renee Good stickers because she'd just been murdered the night before ICE, by ICE. So it was very emotional, and I think really A, told the town that this is a really bad idea, and B, that we are determined and we are peaceful. But and as I said, it was a really, in terms of peacekeeping, a pretty quiet night until at 7 o'clock, when the meeting started, everybody went into town hall that could get in there, town residents mostly. And then a group of about 150 people were hanging out, just, continuing on the protest. And a couple of MAGA gentlemen showed up across the street on Babusick Lake Road, one with a very loud megaphone who was saying a lot of really nasty things. And of course, all of the protesters came over to Babusick Lake Road with their signs, and there was a lot of nastiness going back and forth. So we did have 6 peacekeepers left. We had 18 peacekeepers altogether for that event, but everyone left. 12 of them left at 7, and then 6 of us that were there really dealt with keeping people off the road, and then a whole group of people went over to be with the counter protesters to try to scream at them. People just get out of hand. But while we're just kind of trying to keep tensions down, this remarkable thing happened, which is a man and a woman came from our side, went over the other side of the street, started talking to the two MAGA gentlemen, and basically convinced them to take part in an interview. And the interview lasted for 35 minutes. And amazingly, because of the 35 minutes of not having the MAGA guy on his bullhorn, the crowd, and it was cold, people have been there since 5 o'clock, dwindled from 150 down to maybe 15 or 20, and or maybe even less. And then there were 2 other gentlemen waiting to talk to the MAGA guys, and that was a union leader and Inklink. So they went up, and there was another 15 minutes of interviewing. And by the time they were done, everybody was gone. And so I went up to the 2 people who were doing the interview initially, and I said, thank you for doing this brilliant de-escalation tactic. It's exactly what we teach people in peacekeeper training, in the Clara training, is to go up to someone and engage them in a conversation about themselves. Have them talk about why are they there, what are the things that they care about, what is the reason that you have a different view than other people here. And they said, well, we weren't trying to de-escalate. We're just trying to find out their stories. The most remarkable thing is the man and the woman who were doing these interviews had never met each other. In fact, I introduced them to each other at that point. Even though they've been sitting there for 35 minutes talking to them, they both went over there for different reasons. But he was filming and wanted to ask them questions, but she was asking really good questions, getting into really, I think, a very deep and important dialogue with the young MAGA guy. And he just said, this is an opportunity, I'll film this. So serendipity and cool heads and everything else made it so that we didn't have to deal with a lot of this nasty back and forth that was going on. And we all learned a lesson that as far as de-escalation is just engage the other side in conversation. And essentially, the guy that did the interview, you should all know, is Jamie Cunningham. He runs the New Hampshire Bridge Brigade. All those people you see on overpasses and everything, that's Jamie. And he told me, it's important for me to go over and have conversations wherever we go, because we all need to have dialogue with each other. And that's really a basic tenet of what peacekeeping is all about. So anyways, I wanted to share that because it's really good, instructive. It's definitely something I'll be including in my future peacekeeper training. And the most important thing is that 1,200 of us made an incredibly powerful statement against ICE in New Hampshire on Thursday night. And the struggle continues.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. That was a great story. Very worth hearing. I am going to, Janet's wondering if there'll be a place we can see that interview. Is it going to be somewhere or?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think kind of the agreement between the MAGA guy and Jamie was that, first of all, it wouldn't be edited, and the second is that it wouldn't be shared widely. So I don't think you'll see that.
Another question has come in. Bill would like to ask you, Bob, how you drew crowds and how the logistics were being handled. You didn't really get into that, so do you want to say a few words about that aspect?
Sure. It was a little crazy, but when I was biking, I was also trying to organize at night or early morning. One of the good things about being hit by the Jeep is I had some extra time at home to do this. But basically, I contacted peace groups, and thanks to New Hampshire Peace Action and the local chapters of American Friends Service and Veterans for Peace, they opened doors all over the country, and there were peace action groups and veterans groups that were setting things up as I go. So, but the other problem with that in terms of logistics is I had to get there at the to give them notice and do something. And it's not always easy on a bicycle. Sometimes the weather was pretty bad, or I got caught up in a thunderstorm, got lost in dirt roads, and then, what was the town? Red Oak or something like that. Red Wing in Minnesota, they had to pick me up an hour before because I was not going to make it there at time. And also after I got hit, I had to time my return so that I would keep on schedule, because most of the events were on the past Minnesota, East Coast, and there was nothing I really skipped that was set up in South Dakota. So I had to try to time it so I arrived there on when all the people were planning. So it was a little crazy, but mainly it's the groups that organize this. And sometimes I showed up and there was stuff going on already in the community, like in Chicago. I mean, something always going on. So I just had to make sure they would let me speak. That's what happened in Cleveland and in Milwaukee, and a few other places. And Detroit. That wasn't a rally for me in Detroit, but I showed up at the rally and spoke with Rashida. So, but they knew I was coming and worked out.
So one thing I'd like to point out from this is, sometimes we feel alone in this work, and like there aren't that many of us, we tend to sort of downplay the presence we have. And just know that the network of peace activists across this country got Bob from California back to New Hampshire with 75 events. And that's even when he had to take a month off. So we hope you take that into that we really are bigger and stronger than maybe we sometimes realize. And it went a long way. I think Bob said, I'm here with the peace action and different groups, and people open their doors, and that to me is another thing we learned from Bob's journey. And I see Chris has a question. Go for it. I think, yeah, there you go.
Yes, thank you. Bill, it's very interesting the development of the peacekeeping work. We had a number of peacekeepers recently. It was a No Kings Saturday event in Keene, and one person was really impressed. I don't know how he had got there, and I didn't get a chance to engage him very much, but he was talking with one of the peacekeepers and asked how he could support this. So I was sort of eavesdropping, and then I insinuated me and myself into the discussion and told him that he could support this by making a donation to New Hampshire Peace Action. But it just brought to mind as you were talking the question whether there is any kind of fundraising message that peacekeepers are prepared to give when asked. The folks he was talking to at that point didn't really know. I don't even know how much they understood that peacekeeping project was part of New Hampshire Peace Action. So I'm just wondering if that's a part of your training or of their awareness that could continue to bring in support.
That's a great question, Chris, and I didn't pay you to say this, so we always take donations for Peace Action. We send peacekeepers out actually with these handy little cards. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a card that basically says New Hampshire Peacekeeper Project, and then it gives the URL. So if they want to make a donation, or they want to volunteer as a peacekeeper, or they want to have a peacekeeper training, they can get in touch with us. So that's the important way. And then so all peacekeepers are kind of trained to promote the program. And I also want to just mention briefly, because Dana Dahl is here and she actually picked up this award. This is the Spirit of New Hampshire Awards Volunteer Champion Award presented to New Hampshire Peace Action. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's people like Dana who is on this call, and so many of our volunteers that make it possible for us to do it. We're paying a small stipend to manage the program right now, part-time, but really to mobilize what is thousands of human hours over the course of 2025 to get out there in the street on behalf of de-escalation and peace. We'd never be able to raise that kind of money. We're a powerful volunteer force of nonviolent activists. So thanks.
I have another question for you, Bill. Someone has asked, with 18-year-olds being shot in the head in Tehran and ICE agents shooting protesters here, what do you tell individuals in training to prepare them for violent risks during rallies and peaceful protests?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we're grappling with it more and more. We had not had issues with people showing up with weapons this past year at almost any of the rallies until later in the year, when a group of young socialists wearing guns showed up. And in the past, we would have people with long rifles who would come basically to push their 2A point on us at other events over the past several years. Preparing for an active shooter drill, unfortunately, we have to go to our 8 and 9-year-olds because that's what they're learning in their classrooms these days. We do have a safety plan when we do big events like we did on Thursday night, or the 2020 or No Kings rallies. We actually have a 15 or 20 page safety plan that we put together, which takes in considerations like backpacks that are left unattended, which obviously after the Boston Marathon bombings is an issue, or a scatter plan for exactly where people are going to leave in terms of different areas of egress and reassembly and other things. It's unfortunately times we live in, but being prepared is important. And I think we really do need to do more training and more work with peacekeepers to have them be more prepared for things. We also need more medics. So if anybody, we're actually setting up a medic network. If anybody is a medic of any kind and would like to volunteer, please contact me.
Thank you, Bill. And I will say, in case this wasn't clear, that trainings can be, offered through the Peacekeeper project. So even, there are curriculums, there are training materials, and at this moment in time, we are lucky that nonviolent action is something that has been studied, researched, and documented. Things that work, things to expect, and honestly, it's coming out as more effective than most of us realized when we decided from a more moral position to go with it. So there's a lot we can take advantage of to be as effective and, when we can, as safe as possible. So yeah. And then let me ask this, and then I have a few other things. Andrea's wondering, Bill, if you've done any coordinated training with Nonviolent Peace Force.
We use them as a resource, and a couple more people have been to their trainings. And I think my hope would be to bring them here to New Hampshire in the next several months, because they really do great work, and I think they can teach us a lot. So yeah, thank you for organizing them.
Excellent. We'd love to see Mel here again. If it would be Mel, maybe not. Maybe Mel has moved on, Mel Duncan. So let me share a few more things that, looking ahead for 2026. Now, here we are, we're just in 2026, and can you believe how much has happened? It should have been the whole year's worth of stuff, and it's already happened in the first week. So we know we'll be busy, and we are a small group at the moment. We do not have a paid executive director. We have a half-time staff person. We have an intern. We have a couple of people running different projects, and then we have a lot of volunteer hours going into this. And that will continue. But it does, there's enough to do for like a team of 100 at the moment, wouldn't you say? So we do have to make some decisions, and just at the moment, our ideas are around we feel committed to continuing on with our Palestine work. Even though that's not in the news as much, we know nothing has really dramatically changed for the better. So that is something that will stay high on our to-do list, our agenda for focus. We always work some on nuclear weapons. I didn't really talk a lot about that. We are part of the Back from the Brink network, and one of their main organizers around the country happens to live in New Hampshire, Jeremy Love. So we'll continue to work with him. Nuclear weapons are, I think, back on people's minds, particularly after hearing we might be testing them again. Also, you may or may not know that at the end of this month, the last remaining treaty on nuclear weapons between the US and Russia will be done. So we will be, for the first time in decades, without anything governing the number of nuclear weapons between these two adversaries. So it is a really important issue, and we hope that this newfound focus on it can help us make some progress, because it's a long time coming. We've needed to do more on this for a long time. We'll also be trying to keep up with the sort of roving violence in the world. This weekend, we are hosting a rally around Venezuela in solidarity with Venezuelan people. By then, who the heck knows where else we might have invaded? It's really going to be difficult, but in general, US imperialism remains a big focus of what we do wherever it shows up in the world. So we'll keep on focusing on that. And we are wanting to continue to look at, this new it's not new, but this drastically more empowered internal army of ICE that is now turned on us, is something that we also are hoping to at least support other organizations in the state that are doing such good work around it. So that's a little bit about what we have been doing, what we plan to be doing, your ideas, your input, what you think, please communicate with us. We cannot promise to do everything, but we're always happy to hear from you. And with all that said, I really want to thank everyone for all your support of New Hampshire Peace Action, whether it's, coming to these events, whether you're donating, whether you're showing up at the rallies. Everything that you do matters. And the only reason we make progress is because we're in this together. It is truly a movement of people. And it's a really difficult but beautiful time in some ways to see people really standing up and wanting to be involved. We're very grateful. And this series is free and open to everyone. That said, you can donate at nhpsection.org/donate and keep up with us, nhpsection.org/events. Let me tell you a few things coming up. Our vigils for a just peace in Palestine continue. Wednesday, January 14th, 2 to 3, will be at Representative Pappas's Dover office. Thursday, January 15, noon to 1, folks will be at City Plaza in Concord. And Wednesday, January 21, 2 to 3, will be at Senator Shaheen's Dover office. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, January 13th, 7 p.m., the film The Settlers will be held at 3S Art Space in Portsmouth, hosted by Not in My Name, New Hampshire, and others. So we would love to see you there. Also, coming up, Thursday night, January 15, that's just a few days, 7 to 8, we'll be on Zoom to hold another of our New Hampshire Peace Action nights, and we'll focus on Venezuela. We'll follow that up on Saturday, January 17th, 3 to 4 p.m. We are going to gather people at the State House at the Plaza in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a global day of action to stop the war on Venezuela that's been called. So we really want to send a message to our representatives that we want them to continue to support the legislation to stop this violence, and that we want their statements and their actions to be even bolder than they have been. And let me just say, our next Peace and Justice conversation on Zoom is Monday, January 26th, 7 p.m., and it will be on state-sponsored violence in and by the U.S. with a focus on ICE. That will be Megan Chapman and Maggie Fogarty. So thanks to all the folks who spoke tonight. Thanks to all of you that came and listened and asked questions and engaged. And we're just grateful to be in this together, and we hope you all keep your heads up and or take a view, keep an eye under the covers now and then, but we'll be here when you emerge and want to come out and do some action and learn some things. All right, folks, so many thanks, and look forward to seeing you all again soon.